I want to talk about something interesting. So what do you do when someone insults you, right? A lot of people learn lots of different things in life, right? You'll learn the skill of negotiation. You'll learn the skill of sales, right? You'll learn the skill of marketing. But there's also the skill of handling conflict, right? When there's any type of conflict, when someone makes a point in an effort to insult you, how do you navigate that? Because the way that you handle that insult can really change the trajectory of the way that people see you. Okay. Now, the first thing to understand when anyone insults you, it's because they want to create a performance around the insult, right? It's never usually just going to be one-on-one. The person who's insulting you wants to feel big and they want to make you feel small, right? And that's going to help to increase their social currency and lower yours. So the first thing to understand around any insult is you have to have a framework of how you're going to handle it, because in the moment, you're going to be met with emotions, right? The idea around being insulted is never, ever really very fun, right? It's not something people look forward to. People don't really like conflict, regardless of how much someone says, I can handle it. When someone comes at you with an insult left field, right, and you don't see it coming, it can be very, very difficult to take in, right? And the emotion naturally is going to lead you to do something that you don't want to do, right? It could make you feel, a little bit aggressive back towards them, right? It could make you retaliate. It could make you feel inadequate. It could hit your self-esteem. It could make you want to clam up, right? So the emotional response that comes off the back of any insult is the first thing we need to handle. So I'm going to be walking you through something I call now the 3 R's, right? The 3 R's of how to handle insults. So the first one is recontextualization. So in recontextualization, it's pretty straightforward, right? You have to understand that an insult is actually usually because you're doing something right? When someone insults you, it's because they feel threatened by you, right? Think about it. There is no use in insulting someone when they are much lower in social status than you, right? You do not kick someone when they're down. It makes you look bad. There isn't any use in trying to bring someone down who is already down, right? Now, the goal with an insult is to effectively take away your power. So if someone's insulting you, that's an admission of power, right? They're admitting that you have some type of, power, or some type of skill, or some type of ability that they maybe feel threatened by. So instead of seeing an insult as a negative, you can actually see an insult as a positive, right? That's recontextualization. You're changing the context of this insult now from, this person is trying to put me down because I am this. No, this person is trying to put me down because I'm above them. This person is trying to put me down because they feel threatened by me. The recontextualization helps you to relax, helps you to go, okay, cool, yeah. You know what? I must be doing something right to be getting this insult. So that's the first step, okay? That's going to help you calm down. That's going to help you manage the emotional side of things, right? The recontextualization is going to give you confidence now to walk into the second step. Now, the second step is the reveal. What you want to do with any insult is reveal the insecurity behind that insult. I'm going to repeat that again. What you want to do with any insult is reveal the insecurity behind that insult. If someone is insulting you, it's usually backed behind some type of insecurity that they have around what you're doing and what they aren't able to do. So for example, let's say someone says, oh, well, you're just lucky. Reveal the insecurity. Your response could be as simple as, it's amazing how lucky you get when you put in the work. The insecurity that they have when they're insulting you in that way is, look, they're not willing to put in the effort. And they're trying to downgrade the work that you've put in and attribute that to luck, when that's truly not what it is. And they know that too. So revealing the insecurity is very important. Now, you can only reveal the insecurity when you're in a calm mind and you're able to analyze what they're actually saying, right? And that's where initially, the recontextualization comes in. So you reveal the insecurity behind what they're saying, okay? Now, the last piece is the redirection, okay? You're redirecting their insult back at them, okay? So what I just did there in that example, when I said, it's amazing how lucky you get when you put in the work, is I paused at the end. So that pause at the end now leaves space and creates space for them to now have to talk. The spotlight is on them. Now they have to come back, right? The thing we all have to realize is when people come in with an insult, they're usually insulting you with a framework of how they believe that conversation is going to go, right? You're usually blindsided to it. And they usually have some idea of what's going to happen. They're predicting retaliation. When you insult, you predict the other person retaliating. When someone retaliates, they defend the insult. So if you do something very different, which is this third R, which is redirection, right? If you redirect the insult, now this person has to defend themselves. They have to talk. They were not expecting to talk. They're expecting you to do the talking and for them to stay on the offense. Now you're on the offense and they're on the defense, right? They weren't expecting to play D right now, right? So the cool thing with this is it actually creates a level of anxiety within that person because it breaks their preconception of what that conversation is going to go like, right? It breaks the notion of their control in that situation, and it puts it back in your shoes. And it also puts the attention back on them. And it puts it back on them in a way by it allows you to look like the person who is calm and composed, and it exposes the weakness in their argument. So let's say someone comes at you, right? And they say, you think you're really full of yourself, right? You think you know everything. You can sit back, right? First of all, you're going to recontextualize. You're going to think, okay, well, this person clearly thinks I'm smart and intelligent because they're coming at me in a way by they're trying to reduce my social currency and they're trying to increase theirs and trying to bring me down and they're trying to make me feel less than. So it must mean I'm doing something right? So that's the first piece, the recontextualization. Reveal the insecurity behind that, okay? The insecurity is you have confidence, right? And they maybe don't feel that. And now it's the point of redirection, okay? Redirecting it is very, very simple. Redirection is very simple. In this case, you can say something like, it's very interesting how you're looking at me that way. You must be really used to reading people. Pause, right? Let them answer. Now look where the spotlight is. The spotlight's on them. And they're having to defend why they even took the time out to try and insult you, right? And throughout that entire conversation, throughout that entire exchange, you stayed calm. You took their insult. You reframed it. And you sent it right back at them. And you said, essentially, you must really be someone who likes to read people a lot. I wonder why you're reading me that way. And now it's on them, right? Because there was no need for them to say what they said. There is very rarely any need for someone to insult you publicly or insult you in front of others other than to create a performance and to lower your social status. So now you're saying, look, where did that even come from? Where was the need for you saying that? And they have to defend that, right? Which is very difficult because they weren't prepared for it. Right? So that's really, really the simple method in terms of how to handle insults. So 3 R's, recontextualization, reveal, and redirect. Really that simple. I'll catch you soon.